Tony Wafer, Los Angeles chapter, National Action Network. He just came in here to New York a couple days ago, had to stop by the House of Justice, and I sure enough found some justice, so I know I can leave here feeling like I got peace.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone. You reminded us that change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen, as long as we don't give away our power. I also want to recognize my friends, Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, who continue to be such an important part of this movement. Finally, I want to congratulate another great friend, Eric Holder, on this well-deserved.
It's Wednesday, January 21st. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. Good morning to our West Coast listeners. Welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. For the next 3 hours, you can join the conversation, and there's a lot to converse about today. And you can join the conversation by calling us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can go on the message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, and we can read your message on the air if you called in. A lot to talk about. Well, President Donald Trump spoke at the World Economic Summit in Davos, Switzerland this morning. And now people all over Europe, you need to understand who's there. The heads of state from European countries all are there at this World Economic Forum. And Trump came in and spoke about how he wants to take Greenland, said a few times Iceland, and he talks and talks and talks like a man that is not all the way coherent. And I'm not saying this because of, obviously I have my political disagreements, but I'm saying that as I listen to some of the speech, the rambling, the incoherence, he attacked the people in the audience, some of the NATO members by name, and it really begs to question, is it safe, both economically, because of the tariffs, and he's trying to use them as a gun to point at the heads of states' head as a fiscal weapon that end up costing us. I was reading this morning that Americans have paid for more of the tariffs than any of the countries that he put tariffs on. Why? How do you say that, Rev? Because the American the product here increased so till we paid more here than it hit them from whatever country he put a tariff on. So that's a total disaster. Then he gets up there saying that he wanted Greenland, it was needed for a military base for the United States, and that we should have never gave it away. We didn't give it away. We agreed the Denmark could have it, the Danish could have it, and we get the relationship with some of the islands they controlled, St. Thomas, etc. We never controlled the country. We agreed that Greenland could go to Denmark. What has changed now? Well, he says that Europe's not headed in the right direction. Well, what does that mean? It is extremely concerning to me that this president is putting the United States in a danger zone. He seems to have a relationship with Russia, and everywhere else he's just making a mess. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Supreme Court is considering his attempt to fire from the Fed Lisa Cook, who's a Federal Reserve governor, black woman. He wants to fire her, and because she's been critical and not jumping through hoops when he wants her to. And a lot of the critics of the president trying to fire her saying that for the court to go at this, it would undermine the independence of the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve is supposed to be independent. It sets rates, interest rates, other economic policy. And this would say we have less confidence in how they deal with interest rates and the resulting in terms of the economy, in terms of stock and all that governs our economy. If we felt it was political, you need objectivity there. And because she didn't jump in line, he wants her fired, black woman. The court has to decide on whether or not he has the power and the legal showing to do it. The same thing, grand jury subpoenas have gone out in Minnesota for Governor Walz and Mayor Frey on whether they did anything to impede what the ICE agents and ICE fellow law enforcement did. Now, mind you, they said they're not investigating at this time the killing of Renee Good. They're not investigating that at this time. But they're going to subpoena and investigate the mayor and the governor for standing up for their citizens. And you wonder why I said the other day that we're not headed to a police state, we're almost there? I want y'all to get this. I'm going to say it again real slow. I really want y'all to get this, and I want to hear your feedback on it. The only one that has been killed in this whole scenario in Minneapolis has been Renee Good by an ICE officer. With all of them talking about riots and people hating on the agents of the Trump administration, nobody died but Renee. Nobody. You're not investigating her death. You're investigating the governor and the mayor of Minnesota. I mean, let's be serious. I think that Keith Ellison, all of them on investigation. Not the ICE officer, not the ICE agent that shot 3 bullets into her body in her head. I mean, let's be serious. All right, I'm going to take your calls on this and other issues. I think a lot of it in terms of what he's doing with NATO and what he's doing about Greenland is all to take everybody's eyes off of, you got it, the Epstein files. Sandy says, Reverend Al, thank you for your service, especially breaking it down to my understanding. So I appreciate your humble attitude, your love for the community, and keeping your NAN office in Harlem. Well, we gonna keep it real and gonna be real. I mean, no, I'm not gonna not do what I'm supposed to do. I think that it was important. James Thomas is saying, good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton. Happy working it out Wednesday to you and everyone. All right, working it out Wednesday. All right, I like that. Working it out Wednesday. That kind of catches on. I like that. We had Tell It All Tuesday. Since Monday we were not on. We were live from House of Justice from the MLK situation. I like it. Working it out Wednesday. I'm gonna work with that. I like that. CB Summers says, greetings from Jacksonville, Florida. All right, we getting ready to take our break. I'm coming back. I'm opening up the phones. Let's talk about Trump and NATO and what the real economic threat it is to this country. Talk about what's going on aftermath in Minnesota. But let's not lose sight of the fact that blacks are just about doubly unemployed to whites in this country while they've declared war on DEI. The state of black folks. Let's talk about that today. And let's talk about everybody speculating who may run for president in 2028. Well, who you looking at? It's a couple of years ahead, but they starting to get ready now. Who do you think be a good candidate in 28? And who they gonna face? Some say they're gonna run J.D. Vance, because Trump ain't running. Trump think he gonna run. He can't run. They're not gonna change the Constitution for him. Some are saying J.D. Vance. Some are saying Marco Rubio. Who do you say? A lot to talk about today. We got 3 hours to do it. Let's take a break and get it on. Let's get it on. And Marvin Gaye used to sing that. Let's get it on. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back. Today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Mrs. Coretta Scott King, who never has gotten the credit she deserves in being the force behind this movement. Congressman John Conyers, Stevie Wonder, and others. And Ronald Reagan, who had called Martin Luther King a communist, ended up being the president that had to sign the bill for Martin Luther King's federal holiday. The reason why we know struggle works is this holiday is a result of struggle, signed by a president that never thought it would be. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. But we gather this morning because everything Dr. King stood for is at risk. As we speak, we're waiting to see what the Supreme Court will do with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, one of the major achievements of the King movement. As we speak this morning, this sitting president has declared war on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is the core of the Civil Rights Act of '64. We are under attack, and we should not be taking this as a day off. This is a day on to fight to keep what was maintained. To see, I remember 6 years ago, Martin III and I were in Minneapolis leading the marches around George Floyd. I did the eulogy at his funeral. 6 years later, we see a white female, unarmed, killed in Minneapolis. We see people being racially profiled. We see that there are those that would want this to be the last federal holiday named after King. Don't you be deceived. This sitting president and his cohorts would want to end Martin Luther King Day. But just like we will not let them end this day, we will not let them end voting rights and Civil Rights Act and DEI. It's not enough to remember and honor the dreamer and let them kill the dream. And that's why National Action Network has every year started in Washington, D.C. with this breakfast. And then we go to New York with our public policy forum. And every year, we try to set an agenda and go into April. We always have our national convention in April, which is the month Dr. King was killed, to say that they killed the dreamer, not the dream. And those of us that come out of that movement is going to continue to fight. This April will be our National Action Network is 35 years old in this April at our convention. One of the things, though, we've been most proud of is to try to keep the assignment that we were given. As I said, Mrs. Coretta Scott King never got the credit she was due. She's the matriarch of this movement. You must know that Dr. King was in Boston, had graduated Morehouse College, 19 years old. Went to Boston University, an Ivy League school at a time many blacks couldn't get in them. Met a young lady who was in conservatory, was going to be an opera singer from Marion, Alabama, Coretta Scott King. They decided to go back south, A lot of blacks that went north and had their upper movement never wanted to go back south. But for whatever reason, Dr. King wanted to go back south. And Mrs. King stood right with him and went to Alabama and ran into history. It is always those that accept the calling that change history. And we should never forget the sacrifice made of Dr. Martin and Mrs. Coretta Scott King, because they did not have to go and lead a boycott. They were Boston University Conservatory graduates. They chose to fight. And when it fell their lot, they kept fighting. And even after Dr. King was assassinated, she kept the movement going. Martin III bonded me and his mother, and she used to reprimand me. Al, you got to be careful with your language. Al, I know you up north, but do this, that, and other. She got on me about being not only in the tradition in your actions, because we always was there, but even in your rhetoric. And it was because of that it meant so much. For the last 30 years, Martin and I have walked step by step together because we had that bond, and I felt that Mrs. King gave us that. He has kept this dream alive all over the world. He has worked with the offsprings of Mahatma Gandhi to keep this tradition going. But I thought I knew a lot about how God operates because I've been preaching since I was a little boy. So I thought I'd never see another person in the spirit of Coretta Scott King. But Andrea Waters King walks and talks and operates in the spirit of Mrs. Because sometimes I turn around and think Mrs. King is back. She is more adamant. When Martin and I are saying, well, I don't know about this, she gets us on the Zoom and zooms us up. Say, no, y'all got to do this and this way. So I want to bring, before we start the awards, to the stage, the heirs of Dr. Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King, Andrea Waters King and Martin Luther King III.
It's been a long time coming, but I know. 1968, Dr. Martin King was killed in Memphis, Tennessee. And it has been the commitment of National Action Network to always, in the month he was killed, to let them know they killed the dreamer. Because I have a dream today. They can't kill the dreamer.
You're live, sir. You're live.
Keeping it real.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real.
Keeping it real.
I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to the message board at nationalactionnetwork.net. Go to live stream and send a message. Marble Art says Reverend Al, message discipline is critical here. 45 is acting the fool in a desperate attempt to quell discussion about his active participation of those in the Epstein files, including himself. I totally agree. It makes no sense what he's doing other than trying to distract. And it's certainly not in the interest of the American people. Mayor Rodney Jones, the mayor of Queensbridge Houses, says, support our nurses. 2 of my sisters were nurses. My eldest sister, Marianne, who's deceased, worked at New York Hospital. My sister, Louise, retired from nursing. No justice, no peace. Well, Mr. Mayor, you know, on King Day, as busy as we were, we did 2 hours of Morning Joe that morning, then went and did the National Action Network D.C. breakfast honoring Eric Holder and the rest, then flew to New York and did the whole afternoon, the public policy forum, the governor, the mayor, the attorney general, on and on. I still went down and marched and rallied with those nurses because that was Dr. King's day, and that's what he would have done. So I appreciate what you're saying. All right, let's go to the phone. Let me start in New Jersey with Cooper. Cooper, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Reverend Al, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Reverend Al, it was nice meeting you in Philly last week. You know, it was a great sermon. You brought down the house, always keeping it real and bringing the facts. But, Rev, recently the Department of Homeland Security has faced criticism for its recent social media recruitment posts, which some say echo white nationalist and anti-immigrant sentiments. Somebody who's been in this civil rights advocacy like yourself for a long time, did you ever think you would see the federal government using white ideology and white nationalists to hire people for ICE and Homeland Security?
And doing it out loud. No, I would not have doubted they would do something, but not out loud and arrogant as they're doing it. They have yet to express any remorse or even an investigation on what happened to Renee Good. I mean, you would have never got me to believe they'd be this blatant with it.
Yes, Rev, not even hiding it anymore. So
Right.
They talk about a matter of national security. This is a matter of national security for us folks who living in this country.
That's
so
right.
I just hope people can hear that message, Rev, and we can, again, this midterm, Rev, is crucial. We got to get out and vote.
No doubt about it. Well, thank you for your call. Thank you for being at the rally last week in Philly. In fact, let me get some announcements. The second stop of our HBCU tour, like I said, I'm going to do 4 or 5 cities, but they rolling without me. They're at Miles College in Alabama right now. They'll be in Montgomery tonight. Reverend Cassius Rudolph and the team doing this HBCU tour, and I'm proud of them. They're organizing students around civic participation, and we intend to end the tour with several hundred of them coming to National Action Network's convention. And by the way, the convention is April 8th through the 11th. It's free, all the workshops and gatherings. I'm going to release some of the names next week, end of next week. I'm going to give you a little at a time, because I don't want you to just come to meet and see some big name. I want you to come because you want to be in those workshops helping to really carve out and think through what ought to be our agenda. I particularly want to put emphasis on, this is our 35th anniversary of NAN, and they're going to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the country. 250th anniversary of signing the Declaration of Independence. Well, don't forget, when they signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776, we'd already been in slavery since 1619. What are they going to do about those 150-some years that we were enslaved before you declared independence from King George? So we're going to deal with that at a convention. How should we plan to deal with the 250-year anniversary of the country. What should we be doing? It's among the things I want to come out of the convention with. So make sure if you want to get on the list now, it's all free, but that you want to make sure that if workshops fill up, you can get in on the master list. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. All go to the toll-free number and call in. They'll sign you up on the phone, 1-877-626-4651. All right, let me go. Do I have time to go to another one before the break? Let's go to Mustafa in Cincinnati, Ohio. Mustafa. Hello.
I don't think he's paying attention.
I don't think Mustafa is paying attention. Let me go.
Let's go to break.
Let me go to break. I'll come right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
Good morning, everybody. Governor Westmore. And as a former honoree of the National Action Network's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast, I want to begin by recognizing the leadership of this great organization. My guy, Reverend Sharpton, you're one of a kind. You've dedicated your life to safeguarding and advancing Dr. King's legacy, and I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine. I also want to thank Ebony Riley and her team, and Andrea Waters King and the entire King family. Your work continues to shape national conversations about equity and justice, and you inspire so many to pursue their own path in public service. And finally, I am thrilled to congratulate today's Visionary Award recipient, my guy, Mayor Brandon Scott. Mr. Mayor, you deserve this honor. Your leadership is turning your vision for Baltimore into a Baltimore where we can all thrive, helping to drive down historic lows in crime. A Baltimore that has one of the fastest growing economies in the country. You've been an incredible partner in this work, my man. A strong leader for the city, and most importantly, a devoted friend and father. So congratulations, Brandon. And thank you to everyone here who is working to strengthen our communities, to broaden opportunities, and most importantly, to serve the people.
In 1929, a child was born who would one day awaken the conscience of a nation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did not inherit a world ready for justice. He inherited a world resistant to it. Yet through faith and fearless leadership, he transformed struggle into strength and vision into movement.
Yes, we're on the move, and no wave of racism can stop us. Yes, sir. The burning of our churches will not deter us. Yes, sir. The bombing of our homes will not dissuade us. Yes, sir. The beating and killing of our clergymen and young people will not divert us. Yes, sir. The wanton release of their known murderers will not discourage us. We're on the move now. Yes, sir. Like an idea whose time has come. Yes, sir. Not even the marching of mighty armies can halt us. Yes, sir. We're moving to the land of freedom. Yes, sir.
His dream was never meant to live in history books. It was meant to live through us. And today, that vision still lives. It lives through leadership that refuses to be silent, and through those entrusted with carrying the legacy forward through the moral leadership of Reverend Al Sharpton and the continued stewardship of Martin Luther King III, ensuring that Dr. King's dream remains a mandate, not a memory. Through National Action Network, that vision remains active, organizing in the streets, advocating in the halls of power, and confronting injustice wherever it exists. Last year, on Dr. King's Day, we stood together and made a vow to keep alive everything Dr. King stood for, not just in word, but in action. We marched, we gathered, and we recommitted ourselves to the work. Since then, the movement has not paused from the National Action Network convention, where leaders came together to organize and build power, to the Keepers of the Dream Gala, an event established in the name of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., to honor those who actively protect, advance, and live out his vision of justice, equality, and service. It is especially meaningful to remember that Mrs. Coretta Scott King was honored at the very first Keepers of the Dream Gala.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
And she did more than honor the dream she protected. At the 2000 March on Washington, Mrs. Coretta Scott King charged Martin Luther King III and Reverend Al Sharpton with the responsibility of carrying forward Dr. King's vision, ensuring that the movement would remain alive, relevant, and unafraid.
And to see them today here warms my heart, because indeed the future of our leadership is in good hands, especially with all the others who are here in support of them. And I want to ask first that Martin Luther King III come forth, and then Reverend Al Sharpton. These young men have done an outstanding job, and we need to continue to support them. I will be there with them, even though I may not be able to walk all the way, but if I have to go in the wheelchair, that'll be all right too. I'll be there. Thank you. God bless you.
And 25 years later, they still stand together. On the 28th of August, 2025, Reverend Al Sharpton and Martin Luther King III stood side by side once again, not by coincidence, but by calling. On a date forever tied to the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., they came together in unity and purpose to keep the dream alive, this time on Wall Street. Wall Street represents power and too often unchecked inequality. So they showed up to declare that economic justice is civil rights and that accountability must exist wherever power lives. Dr. King taught us that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it does not bend on its own. It bends when people are willing to pull it. And we are still pulling, still standing, still holding up the dream, because the work is not finished and the dream still demands defenders. He is a tireless civil rights leader, a fearless voice for justice, and the president and founder of the National Action Network, which proudly marks its 35th anniversary of fighting for justice, equality, and accountability. Please welcome Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life, both historic, strong figures. But if I misuse them and listen to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance.
Yeah, I got Woody back.
Only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host.
Could be your
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. Happiness Donuts is on our message board saying, because I pushed hard the convention and April 8th through the 11th, and he said, no groupies, no spectators, and come prepare for action at 2026 convention. Thank you, Happiness Donuts. That's right. Everybody always, Reverend, can you give me this celebrity you got? So-and-so, big shot on the panel. come for action. You can meet whoever you want. They gonna be there, but don't make that the reason you come. Bruce Turner is saying on the message board, after what Trump did today on the world stage, everybody needs to commit to get off their butt and vote. Well, he's sure, I mean, I don't even be kidding to tell you how out of whack that looked. Him speaking from Davos for the World Economic Forum. Let me also say, I mentioned the convention, but let me also remind you this Saturday and Sunday, we're live on Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, 5 p.m. both days. And certainly I'm not only going to focus on what is going on in Minneapolis, I'm also going to focus on where are we with the Affordable Care Act. They're going to run out again in a couple of weeks. I have some of the senators on, Congress people. What are they going to do about this Greenland distraction? And, of course, what are we going to do about the voting rights? Again, don't forget, Supreme Court has not ruled on the Louisiana case that would take out Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. So that's why I have senators and governors on. I want folk in position of power that I can ask the hard question. I watch some of these shows, not only on MS Now, but across cable, and they have their buddies on. What do you think about this? And you wrote this book. No, you're in office. What is the plan on this? What is the legislation on that? That's what I do on Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. And, of course, Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice, 145th Street, Lenox Avenue, 9 a.m. to 11. I'll be there. You that are not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television or at nationalactionnetwork.net or on YouTube. We're live on all three platforms. All right, let me go back to the phone. Did we find Mustafa in Cincinnati? Mustafa, you keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good afternoon, man.
Good afternoon.
How you doing, man?
I can hardly hear you. Something wrong. Clear up your phone.
Oh, okay.
No, we don't hear you well. Work with him to get his phone clear. Let me go to James in Atlanta, Georgia. WAOK, James.
Yeah, this is Reverend Sharpton. Reverend Sharpton, these slogans, say her name, or say their names. There are names that have become household names, like George Floyd or Breonna Taylor. Maybe we should also say the names of these survivors that are now coming out, speaking out. You got the Katie Johnson, her 30-minute interviews on YouTube. You have a guy that has come out recently named Sasha Wiley. He talks about what happened to him when he was 10, 11, 12, 13 years of age. So maybe we should also say their names so their names can become household names.
I like that. I think that's a rallying cry. I like that. I'm going to bring that into the convention. Maybe we can even have some of them there. I like that. Thank you for your call. Let me go to Ira in Washington, D.C. Ira.
Hey, good evening, Reverend Sharpton. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And also, I'm going to go straight to the point. What I feel and think is all those people that got released from the insurrection, that's why they're so crazy and hide their faces, for one. I get that. And then, ever since he got back into the White House, I look at the statistics just today. Everything is in the double red. He double 10-point everything in the red. And everything that opens out his pie hole is a straight lie. And we get that. So I'm just saying, we got to do better. And one lady said something about if we vote, if we march and all this stuff, they said it'll make sense. I said, yes, it do. So I don't want to believe that. If we're going to vote, if they cheat, we still going to vote. We're going to win. And if we march, we're going to march. If we're going to protest, we're going to protest peacefully so they can't do anything. And that's what I hope our America do. And lastly, this is my last one. The 1966 sheriff of Macon County that I brought y'all up to yesterday, it's very interesting. They need to look at that. It's a fact that when black people empower themselves, white supremacists fall down. Thank you for my call, Mr.
All right,
Doctor.
thank you for your call and for your contribution, Brother Ira, to the conversation. Let me say this. Ira mentioned that some people say if you vote, you march, it doesn't change nothing. People would not know your ignorance if you kept your mouth shut. It was marching and voting that gave you and I a better life than our parents. I'm not even going to go back into slavery in black history. Just one generation, your parents, my parents. My parents, both born in the South, one in Alabama, the other in Florida, grew up and could not finish elementary school. They had to work in the fields. Didn't even know each other yet, but that's where segregation was. Couldn't use a public toilet, couldn't go to schools where the funds were there and the books were good. Couldn't ride the front of a bus even if they paid the same fare. My generation was able to vote, go to better schools, was bused to schools. Not that we wanted to be white folks, but wanted to be where the schools had books and later computers and could go and spend our money wherever we wanted. How do you think we got there? How do you think if it wasn't marching and protesting and voting, putting people in that supported us? Tell me how we went from one thing to the next in one generation. I mean, it is absolutely ignorant to be living better than your parents or grandparents and act like it just happened because one day folks just changed their mind about us and did us a favor. Now, do we have all we want? Nowhere near it. Do we have a long way to go? Yes, we do. But the way we got this far was organizing, marching, voting, protesting. That's how we got this far. So now, do we need to do more than that? Sure. We need to control our dollars. We need to build our own institutions. We need to do more. But don't knock out the things that was at the center of us having the ability to do more. Folks would not know how ill-informed you are if you wouldn't open your mouth. All right, let's go to Brother Jacob in Philadelphia, WURD. Brother Jacob.
Peace be unto you, Reverend Sharpton, and your worldwide listeners, man. Look, I'm going to tell you, I was honored and I felt empowered when you was here in Philly at Memorial Baptist Church. And let me tell you, Reverend, now, they had church that night between the choir and the musicians. we had church up in there, man. It felt good. You have that spirit of unity, that divine spirit that comes, And, I believe you gave us our marching orders, something to do what against this, rather than just because the world sees what we working with. They see that. It's on the world stage today. So we ain't got to keep pointing to that. But what, you was like the Godfather. In one of his songs, he asked Bobby, he said, what you gonna do now, Bobby? And you know what I'm saying? And that is the vote. That's the biggest thing we do. They talking about a tsunami. It should be a word bigger than tsunami with the American people wanting to save this republic. 250-year celebration, they say.
Yeah.
It should be a bigger than a tsunami to win back this leadership because we see what's up. Reverend, now, that video that they showed, man, that was excellent. That showed all of our black leaders, living and dead, that told us about who Reverend Sharpton is, right? And we already knew what you weren't, and that was a scared sellout to the American people. Because I'm going to tell you, Reverend Al, when you keep it real for all Americans, right?
I try to do it for everybody. That's right. And you know, I'm honored, you know, the media team here, Brother Jacob, put together these videos, and they got Mrs. King talking about us and Reverend Jackson.
Everybody.
Everybody, James Brown, Muhammad Ali. And I of course knew it growing up, who was supporting us and 35 years old, but I never thought about the videos. These young people in our video department said, oh no, we got the video of that. We're going to piece this together. And I'm glad that we have a whole team of young people. I don't think any of them is 35 years old that has put together to tell our story while I'm still here, because many of our leaders didn't live to see their story told.
Okay, Sidney Poitier, everybody who was somebody in that struggle gave you your props. And so like I said again, you know what you're working with. We know what you're working with. Let us come together and work with it.
Yes, sir. I love it. Thank you for your call and your spirit. Always look forward to hear from you. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Hi, it's Reverend Al Sharpton, President and founder of National Action Network. We are at the very end of 2025, and I want to first say that I want to thank all of the officers, chapter leaders, regional directors, national staff, and certainly National Board of National Action Network for a solid and absolutely incredible year in 2025. Despite the fact that we are under assault, voting rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the battles globally where we're seeing Nigeria and Venezuela attack, and on and on and on. We have been steadfast as an activist organization in the tradition of Dr. King. We started the year with a national call that thousands responded to, and we were in Washington on our side of town while Trump was being inaugurated on the other side of town. And we made a pledge. We told people to lift their hand and make the pledge. And we kept that pledge to work all year to keep the dream alive. And that led into when Trump went after DEI. We supported some that were boycotting, and we started boycotting, something that had never happened. We said we're going to go buy from those that have committed to keep DEI. And went in several cities around Costco's and shopping. We've now bought stock in other companies. We're going to shareholder meeting and demand they continue DEI. We've had a sensational National Action Network convention covering the span of activity, from political empowerment to education, to how we deal with the black church, how we deal with black women development that has to deal with both discrimination based on gender and race. And of course, we came to Wall Street by the thousands and marched in late summer on the anniversary of the March on Washington. And people thought you could not get people out, and they came from all over the country. And we marched on Wall Street and had an enormous turnout. The only mass black march, black-led march this year. We had a lot of protests, a lot of marches. I salute all no King's marches and all. But the black organization march, it welcomed everybody. We had white, black, everybody there. Was our march on Wall Street in August. And then our Triumph Award and on into our fall agenda of organizing, mobilizing. We've expanded. We've started chapters in about 12 new cities. So I am proud of what we've done this year, but it's only the beginning, because our very rights are under attack.
and they're not even being quiet about it. They want to revoke the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 may fall with this agreement. They want to end the Civil Rights Act of 64. That's what the end of DEI is about. So let us be more alert and active than ever. History will decide whether the civil rights gains of the 50s and 60s died in the 2020s. That's on your watch and mine. So if we've got to march, we have to protest, we have to lobby, and we have to rally, whatever we need to do, we need to put our shoulder to the wheel more than ever. I'm going to lay out a plan on King Day, both in Harlem at our annual event and in Washington at our annual Martin Luther King Day breakfast that we do in D.C. We do 2 cities that day. And then, of course, all roads lead to New York, April for our convention. We had, as I said, the largest attendance convention last year. In 2025, it needs to be more this year because our very existence is at stake. We also are closing our negotiations on a new headquarters, our national headquarters that befit our mission. I'm so excited about it, but I can't give you details. We're just about ready to sign the contract, but it will be something that will last longer than many of our lifetimes. So we came alive in 25, despite a hostile administration, despite the fact that a lot of people were intimidated and spooked into silence. We came alive in 25. Now we have to straighten out tricks in 26. I need you, we need each other. Let's do this. All these tricks, don't forget, Trump only won by 1.5%. He is trying to act like he has a mandate. No, he has a mission, Project 2025. We have the mandate that we can't let them undo what has been done. And we must even go further for the empowerment of all people. Happy New Year. And be focused.
Some people report the news, others interpret it, but there are those who transform it into truth. Arie Melber has redefined journalism with intellect, creativity, and courage. He blends culture and current events, politics and poetry, truth and transparency. And in doing so, he reminds us that storytelling is a sacred work. Arie understands that our narratives shape our nation, and he has used his platform to highlight issues that matter to the people, not just to the powerful. Tonight we honor him for bridging art and activism, for using his voice to educate, inspire, and empower. Join me, please, in celebrating Arie Melber, recipient of the President's Award of Historic Transformative Leadership.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. How are you guys doing? First of all, Babyface is 67 years old. We might need a fact check on that. What an honor to be up here with Rev and everyone else. When Rev started out, they said, he's just doing this to get on TV. Now he has a TV show. He kept along and they said, well, he's just setting himself up to run for office, be a politician. Now he has the politicians coming here to be accountable to you. We're celebrating his 71st birthday, God bless. I don't think he's planning to run for office in his late 70s or 80s, although people do that nowadays. I don't know if you've heard. So as far as I can tell, maybe he was doing it for the people. Maybe he was doing it for voting rights and human rights and being an advocate for people in communities where when bad things do happen, they don't have a local advocate or a federal advocate, or suddenly it doesn't feel like they have anyone who cares about what's happening to them. So it's funny, in the middle you can't always prove the case, but by this stage in his illustrious contributions to the United States, he's doing it for everyone. So shout out to Rev. I'm really honored to get this award. My grandmother was a refugee. My father's an immigrant. Like a lot of other people that I get to interact with, I'm very aware that my worst days are better than some of their best days. And so I keep that in mind, and I know Rev does and a lot of other people do. This award was called Leadership in the Arts. I'm honored by it. I love the arts. I won't say whether I've ascended to being a leader in the arts, but I will share with you the leaders I learned from. I learned civil rights from Sam Cooke. I learned about colonialism from Bob Marley. I learned about activism from Gil Scott-Heron. He said the revolution will not be televised. We're working on that. Reb and I are working on that. I learned...
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. And you know, during the commercials, they talk about Nearly and how this young man was killed on the train. He was acting during the impersonation of Michael Jackson. Man choked him to death, and Nan jumped in. Some of the other activists jumped in. The guy was indicted but acquitted. And I thought about this yesterday because there are two books that have come out on the Bernard Goetz subway vigilante. That's the older ones, if you may remember, in 1984. And they was making a hero out of this guy. Same thing. He shot 4 kids on the subway, one paralyzed for the rest of his life. And many people were on their side, taking the law in their own hand. And now they have a book out, 5 Shots, that a man wrote, and then another one, the Fear and Force, by Heather Ann Thompson. And the book of 5 Bullets, I think, is Williams, yeah. And it's written by a brother named Williams. I say all that to say a lot of us been out here a long time. I had just came back from heading community affairs for Michael Jackson's victory tour all over the country and into Canada, 32 cities. I came back, I was head of the National Youth Movement then, and I got ready to resume the youth movement, and they shot these kids in the subway. And a lot of my friends said, man, you just was head of community affairs for the biggest tour in history. You should just leave movement stuff and stay out in California and promote Michael. You make a much better living. You just made a salary on the tour, which is more than you had from the youth movement. And when they shot those 4 kids, and there were black folks, Roy Anderson and others defending it, I said, no, this is where I'm staying. I'm not going back out to California. And that's 42 years ago. And ain't never stopped. I never stopped from when I was 12, but it made me think about it when I heard the commercial about Jerome Neely. All right, let's. I see on the message board, who is that? Forensic accountant is correcting somebody saying, hold on now, I don't mean to be a stickler, but Bobby asked Mr. Brown, talking about James Brown and Bobby Bird, said, what you gonna play now? And James Brown answered, forensic accountant, I don't know, but whatsoever I play. He didn't say whatsoever I play. He said whatsoever I play, it's got to be funky. And then they're going to make it funky, yeah, you talking James Brown's surrogate son. I know all of that stuff. I had to hear it every night.
And he financed our civil rights work in national youth movement from when I was 17 years. I was 17 when James Brown brought me in after his son, who had come to New York and been friends with me. He got killed in a car accident, and James Brown took me on, and I ended up staying with him until he passed. I did his funeral. All three of them. We did 3 funerals. All right, let's go back to the phones. Let's go. Can we hear Mustafa now in Cincinnati? We got the phone right.
Hey, Reverend Al, thanks for hanging in there with me.
All right, that's better. Yeah, I hear you now.
Yes, sir. Thanks for hanging in there. Appreciate you. A couple things. When we talk about who should run or who I like, I really don't know, man, because I tell you, the other day my wife was looking online and a piece came up showing a picture of former First Lady Michelle Obama with a sign saying, "Would you vote for me?" And she was like, "Hey, look at this." And I told her, that's not real. Because if anybody is going to run, they should be putting in some work right now. They should be putting in work front and center. Their activism should be present. Because I asked her, well, wait a minute. Okay, you see that, but what has she done? What has she been doing? My wife couldn't name anything. And I said, who's been doing something? And she thought for a minute. And she's the only person I see, and is Al Sharpton. I said, well, he ain't going to run. But he got works over the past 50 years. He got work. You know, and that's the thing. That's what's going to take. People who have work and can do the job and have a platform and for the people. You know what I mean? It's not even about, we don't need no more personalities. We don't need that. We need somebody who can bona fide run this country with some empathy for others, all Americans, not just one American. You know, so that's what we need, man. A real empathetic person. And plus, they're going to need about $250 million.
Yeah. Yeah, they had to be well financed. You're right.
Yeah, that's it. That's the whole kit and caboodle. Can you get financing to run? You know, because it costs so much money to run for president. It's worth it because what's at stake? But the price tag is very, very high. And then we need people who are conscious enough to see the big picture.
Right.
You know, who couldn't see that Kamala Harris was well qualified, was the best candidate almost ever? You know what I mean? With her credentials.
Right.
But couldn't get people to see past their own face. And an idiot wind up in office. That's what the Electoral College, I thought, would have came in and stopped this sort of madness. But they have not. They have not diligently did their job. You know, whereas if the public make a big mistake, the Electoral College is supposed to step in and say no.
Right.
But we are where we at. We're going to continue to fight. And it's evident that the work our ancestors done, our parents, just the last generation have done to get us to where we at so we can even have a voice. And lastly, if this wasn't important, if voting and the rights of black folk was not important, people such as Donald Trump wouldn't be trying to stop us.
That's right. Let me tell you, thank you for your call always, Mustafa. The way I put it is if somebody breaks in your house, they ain't not going to take what's of no value. They going to look for valuables, money, jewelry. Anybody going to take your dirty rag out the bathroom. So if they're trying to take your vote, it must mean it is of value. Otherwise, they wouldn't be trying to take it. And some of us are just giving it to them by not standing up and doing what they should do, and that is vote. Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Houston in Hawaii. Calling all the way from Hawaii. Is it Houston?
Yes, sir. This is Eustace from
Hawaii. Eustace.
Rev.
Okay, Eustace.
Yes, sir, Rev. I want to thank you all the time. Of course, you a vet. You know that. I thank you for supporting us, sir. I thank you for not talking me down or downgrading me every time I advocate for the military. I really appreciate you, sir.
I appreciate you.
I swear, if it wasn't for you, military won't have a voice. A vet, combat vet like myself won't have a voice. So I want to thank you for that. You talk about 50,000 for ICE. That could have went to the military.
Right.
Right. That could have went to buying uniforms for young privates. That could have went to money to upgrade the base, even outside the base, like giving money to people that needed business outside the military base. Ask any soldier how $50,000 can change their life, right? That's just 1 year. Now, Trump said the military are professional, which I agree with him on that. Because when you put the military in there, they're going to show you how to actually treat people. And Rev, they don't really talk positive about the military. What we did in Iraq and Afghanistan, that we were taking care of people in those countries. We were told to work together with those folks in Iraq when I was deployed, to work with them, right? So when we see people getting roughed up on the streets, I put my faith in the soldiers, because we know right from wrong. When I was deployed in Iraq, you definitely can't do illegal orders. They got a place called Fort Leonard Wood, 3 square meals. They got a bed and a cot. So if you feel like you're a soldier, you could do whatever you want, don't have to follow. Fort Leonard Wood is right there waiting for you. Anybody can look at Iraq and what happened in Iraq, of people who did not, followed illegal orders and all of that. It's right there in Iraq. And I'm going to keep bringing up Iraq, right? Because that's through Congress. That's everybody saying Iraq is a mistake. You know, Iraq is not a mistake, because you can't. A lot of people fall on those battlefields, right?
Right.
That's not a mistake. Federal employees lost their jobs. You got people who are employed through the federal government who are committing negligence. They should be fired. How could you fire 300,000 federal employees of no fault of their own?
Right.
And you have people who are employed by the federal government who are employees that's doing negligence on the road. That is absurd. That should not be happening. So when we look at what Trump did within the first year, federal employees, there's a lot of federal employees who voted for Trump, and there's a lot of military guys who voted for Trump. They need to look at that. How are you going to give the military $17.76 and give ICE $50,000? So any politician that's running for campaign or anything, start looking at voters, man. Okay? Start putting things out there. How could you ask the military to do this, but you're not taking care of the base? The base is not upgraded. They should be having everything new on the base. You can't rob the military. You can't rob the military and the federal government and give the money to ICE, new uniforms, body armor. Those soldiers can use that right now. Right now. I remember when I came out of the military, I couldn't find a job. So if they go to Minnesota, those city and state, they need to start shaking those soldiers' hands. What kind of job you need, man?
Yeah.
Do you need to be a police? Do you need something? Politicians need to stop talking about the work and action. I agree with the last caller. We don't need a personality, right?
Right.
Rev, you got action. You do the action. We need somebody that's going to do the work, consistent and fair to everybody. And I appreciate you, Rev.
I appreciate you, Houston. Thank you for your call all the way from Hawaii. And I'm reading your messages. I like this. Mo Brown is saying, Rev, the convention would be a great time to revamp a GOTV across the nation. What's your thought on teaming up with AFSCME Union across the country to get folks registered? You know, you read my mind, Mo, because the head of AFSCME, Lee Saunders, is going to be one of the workshop leaders, and he's going to be at the convention bringing other labor leaders. We must use the convention as a real organizing tool with everybody leaving there with an assignment on the midterm elections. Let's go with it. Let's take a break.
I'll be right back. Keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real. Sharpton, be right back. Keeping it real.
Democracy, that's what it is. What Trump will erase, we will replace.
It's the dreamers in many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street. No justice, no justice, no justice. What do we want? What do we want?
We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand up and make it loud. Just like our God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's calling us into freedom. Let my people go, go. We gonna shine at the shade. Give me a papa God rain, make the heavens. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. The blood, sweat, and the tears that we gathered through the years. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water.
Oh, do I seem excited? I am excited because this Saturday, the National Action Network Saturday Action Rally starts live on WBLS 107.5 FM in New York. We're going to expand. Every Saturday morning, we're live on WBLS 107.5 from 10 a.m. to 11. You'll hear the message. You'll feel the energy. You'll be involved. You won't be sitting around talking about, oh my God, look at what's happening. You'll be involved in dealing with what's happening. I'm excited, and you should be excited to turn on WBLS 10 a.m. every Saturday morning. I have a message for you, and if you want to, you can come to the House of Justice and be there live, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue. We kick off at 9, and we don't stop until we deal with getting our people energized.
you. Let me say, I wanted to come today on Martin Luther King Day. Because Martin Luther King died in Memphis fighting for wages for garbage workers. And I believe he would want those of us that come in his tradition to be standing with nurses and standing with those that should be getting wages for saving the lives and caring for people that the private hospitals and other hospitals seem not to care about. How can you spend King Day and turn your back on people that are working and not insured right and not given the right wages and not given the right respect when they're taking care of our afflicted, our ill, our infirm? In the name of Martin Luther King, I join the nurses in demanding justice for the nurses. This is not only a labor issue, this is a civil rights issue. This is a human rights issue. It's an issue that black and white, Latino, Asian, all can stand together. Because those that want to make profits out of people's illness, rather than pay for those that care for them, that stand for them, that are there when their families are not there in some cases. So we had to come on King Day. Many of the dignitaries came to the House of Justice, but I left to come and stand here with them to let them know that Martin Luther King Day is a day to stand up for those that are standing in the cold, but they never left the patients in the cold. No justice. No justice. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. All right. Thank you, Mr. Sharpton.
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
I'll tell you that.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow because it's blowing on disconnected dry bones. But the good news is that we're the children of people that have been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get despondent, I don't ever get depressed. Because I want
Keeping it real, keeping it real.
Because we're the children
I'm your
of people
host,
that took the worst for.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Tanya Stovall is saying, we are at the end of the month and still no health plan or hope for all the people who lost their coverage because of the GOP. The Dems fought hard for the ACA. And I'm so glad you brought that up, Tanya. On Monday, day before yesterday, Hakeem Jeffries, who's the minority leader of the House of Representatives, was at the House of Justice for our MLK forum. He's a member now, been one for 20 years. And he said that's one of the most imperative reasons that we must vote with a passion. When you have people in office, Republicans in Congress, that don't even want to protect their constituents. I'm talking about Republicans in red states that was on the Affordable Care Act. Then you know that they are only interested in power
and delivering goods to their backers, their money guys, and not the people. They let December 31st midnight, they let the Affordable Care Act expire. We are now at January 21st, and they still have not come back in with a compromise. Remember now, the Republicans say we got an alternative plan that's good. Democrats were supporting it as it was because that's how it became law in the first place. So Tanya is absolutely correct. And you run around talking about we ain't got nothing to vote for, and their premiums have quadrupled on some people since 2 weeks ago. Let's go to Woody in Philadelphia on the phone. Woody, keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Boy, I'm so proud of you, I don't know what to do. I'm telling you, here at the barbershop, we're talking, and there's nobody, Reverend, that I would vote for right now but you. I know the first time you did it wasn't the right time, but see, like when you're cooking, my mother always say you got a season thing, and there's a time for it to come out. Then it's good. But if it ain't time, only God knows what time. I believe from God in me, speaking through me and probably all over this country, that we need a voting rights award for those who've been voting the longest and on every time that there's time to vote. A voting awards act of some sort would give people who've been voting forever. Each time it's time to vote. You see what I'm saying? And then the way we build that, to me, would be on this issue, because a lot of people, I don't blame them for some cases, because a lot of them can't read. Like I said, 52% can't read at third grade level. We got to do something drastically about that and push that. You would be ideal to be president this next time around, Reverend. I hope you take that into consideration, because this voting rights award thing is something that could be real. Like they got the Academy Awards and all these other awards. Let's have awards for the ones that have been voting all those years and voting for every time it's time to vote. Give them a voting awards of some sort so that we can salute them in every state and every city around this country. I think that would help, and it would help your health, because without education, you can't tell me that it doesn't affect your health. Health and Human Services, no. 52% can't read at third grade level. That's ridiculous. That's directly going back to slavery, if you ask me. So, brother, if you decide to run, I'm right behind you, I'm telling you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you for your call. And let me say that we definitely going to have a lot to say on who run. I'm going to try to have as many of the people that are talking about running at the convention, and we certainly going to, and I mean going to make sure they come and ask and answer the hard questions. Many of you that have come to our conventions before know that I asked the hard questions. I made every candidate in, was it 2020, commit to whether or not they would support the bill for reparations for Africans in America. Every one of them. And if you remember that year, we had everybody from Beto O'Rourke in Texas, and Kamala Harris, California, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, all of them. About 8 or 9 of them came. All of them came. Only one wouldn't commit to reparations was Bernie Sanders. The only one. So everybody think about running 28, better show up and see us in 26 and help us get these right-wing nuts out in 26. That's why you need to be at the convention, because many of them will be there, and we want to hear what they got to say. Let's go to Sky in Richmond, Virginia. Sky.
Yes, Al Sharpton. I just want to say history is repeating itself. You got to look back in World War II when Hitler was in control, And in 1933, I guess that's when the World War I really started. And Donald Trump is doing similar to what Hitler has done when he invaded Poland, Denmark, Belgium, and took all these countries over. And, and then also, like with Donald Trump, what he has done, he's threatening to take Colombia, Mexico, Iceland, Iceland, the American takeover in Gaza. He's just putting us like similar to what Adolf Hitler has done back in World War II. With that being said, for example, like the German judiciary courts lost its independence under Hitler. And so look at our Supreme Court now. Most of them favor or got nominated, and they Republicans, if you ask me, doing the same thing what Hitler has done. And now we got, instead of the Gestapo, we got the ICE agent. They doing the same thing what the German police has done, rounding up people, taking them in the woods, shooting them, disappearing. The Gestapo was violent people, and that's what our ICE agent people are doing now. So we got to really start taking a look. And let me tell you one more thing. Verizon, we lost our power last week, the Verizon company, phone company, and what came on my phone, and because I went up to the Verizon store, by the time I got there, it was hundreds of people in the store. They was trying to figure out what was going on with their phone. We could not call out. We could not receive any calls. And so this SOS came up on our phone. Also, a satellite appeared onto our phone. And so when I went into to check to see what was going on with that, the satellite on my phone, it came up with a satellite on my phone, and it stated, "Can you see this image? If you can see this image, let us know what type of image are you looking at." And if it's clear, I wouldn't type anything because therefore I could not make no calls or receive no call, but they wanted me to respond. And Obama has a movie out there called Leave the World Behind. And if you watch that movie, he kept putting emphasis on the satellite. And as we, in the movie, when they aimed the satellite, and then you look down on the earth was becoming dimmer and dimmer. So, this is the time we're living in. But Donald Trump putting us in all these different wars, just like Adolf Hitler. What's going over in Gaza now, they still trying to build that waterfront. And then with Venezuela and Iceland, Venezuela, we know what's about the oil. Now, Iceland is about the mineral, but also Trump wants the land so he could build his army up and surround so he could take over the world. People need to really wake up.
Well, I think that a lot of what we need to do is wake up and study. Thank you for your call. It's interesting. Now, Sky associated what Trump is doing with what Hitler did, and I think it was Trump's first or second wife, probably his second wife, that said that Trump used to keep a copy of Mein Kampf written by Hitler on the nightstand in the bedroom. So before everybody run out here, and I didn't say it, his wife said it, his ex-wife said it. So before anybody run out here saying that's an overstatement, that's what his ex-wife said. Now, is he using that tactics? They are similar tactics. It's not the same language, and nobody does. Now, Hitler was in the 1940s. We're in the 2020, and but the man studied things. I know who I study. I studied to emulate. So I'll leave it right there. Let's take our break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. Be right back.
London, yeah. We've got many problems there. We need you over our side. Yeah, you're invited anytime, please. Whenever you want to come. There we go.
So we are in not a political dilemma, we are in a moral dilemma. And if the black church does not come with a prophetic voice, then who's going to do it? We can go through all the data, all the statistics, all we're going through in the workshops, but the question is, where is the action going to be? We all believe in Jesus. Jesus didn't teach theology, he healed people. And they learned the nature of the theology based on his healing. We got to heal this nation. And if we heal this nation, the nation will return to our churches. But we've become silent and compromised. And we try to blame it on, I'm not in this. You are in this. You live it, your members live it. Unemployment now is higher now than it's been since the pandemic. Yet we survive. Yes, sir. There's no history in the world of any people that went through the kind of psychological, cultural, and physical slavery like blacks did in America. The only reason we're still here is because of our faith. We had no external strength, we had an internal strength. And it was the God that we were taught by our mamas and grandmamas that brought us through. And I don't care who's sitting in the White House, we cannot betray the God that brought us through.
This is the first Thanksgiving I'm here in New York. Over 20 years. I'm just glad to be here with Rev today and to hand out the food. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
It's Erica Ford, the Peace Doctor in the building. Here at the National Action Network, it's about thanks. It's about giving. It's about gratitude. It's about love. I feel it is important for you to understand that there's work out here to be done, but it starts with gratitude, it starts with giving, it starts with peace, it starts with love. Let's go.
Before we feed our family, we got to make sure that we feed the community. That's right. That's what it's all about. We had to come with Sharpton phones. You come and you make sure you show up, serve the community. That's what it's all about.
Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president, but we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're gonna have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching.
And I'm going to keep marching. I'm going to keep agitating. And I'm going to keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time. Mariah, Chris, and your kids. And I promise you this. The only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again. And I think that is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which is we want to talk about.
You're live, sir.
What is that?
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. 1-877-532-5797. And on our message board, Evangelist Ramsey is saying, Evangelist Ramsey is still here, Rev. We are still at Albany. Interesting, very informative bill we're waiting to pass. Evangelist Ramsey's up in Albany with our contingent from New York. Albany, for you around the country that don't know, is the state capital of the state of New York. A lot of people around the country think New York City is the capital because it's the biggest city. But Albany is. And they're dealing with state bills. And that's one of the things that, one of the reasons why the convention is so important, is that we try to get our people out in to deal with their state legislature. We teach people how to do that at the convention. And we get the breakdown. And we try to have as many of the state officials and governors and all at the convention. So make sure, I'm looking at the list, we got hundreds of people already signed up. I don't want you to say, oh, it's January, the convention 8 to April 8th. The seats will be taken because I'm going by the sequence of when people call or when people register. So it's April 8th through the 11th, Sheraton, New York, at Times Square, free. And all the sessions are free. And all you got to do is register. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can call the toll-free number. People are at the number right now at 1-877-626-4651. Also, during the breaks, I've been working the phones. I will certainly have people right in the thick of the Congress and the Senate on the show this weekend. So make sure you watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 both Saturday and Sunday, because they're trying to bury this story now in Minneapolis. We need to bring up where we are with that, where we are at the Epstein files, as well as what these tariffs will mean to you and I on the ground, as well as what this whole thing is Greenland's about. So I'm going to have in some of the senators, some of the members of Congress, and the governors on this weekend to really ramp up on where we're at. Don't miss the show. You that are in the New York area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice, 145th Street, Lenox Avenue. We'll be there 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice, 145th and Lenox. They're forecasting snow this weekend, but it's not coming to Sunday. You got no reason not to be there on Saturday. And then, of course, you that are not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television
on nationalactionnetwork.net, or on YouTube. We live on all 3 channels. So you need to be invited. Pass the word. All right, let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Tommy in Chicago, Illinois. Tommy?
A pleasant afternoon to you, Reverend Sharpton, and especially to your listening audience. I mean, Rev, I mean, what this man said on the world stage is incomprehensible. And it's just absolutely amazing to me that if Dr. King were alive today, I'm quite sure he would be saying thank you to you. And I think that anyone who feels like they're going to show appreciation for his legacy, especially it seems like they can remember everything except for when he says that each one has to do a self-evaluation. Each one has to emancipate themselves.
That's right.
And here we are. We're here at this moment, and this is the moment in time for individuals like yourself who are the true spooks who sit by the door. I mean, it's time for people to be still, Rev. It is absolutely, the man is trying to invoke martial law. I mean, Rev, you know, it's a damn shame when you say, hey, you know, I heard the young man, and I would thank him for his service. But I just would like to remind him, we didn't have all the little toys that you guys had running around out there in Iraq. We're over there in that place. And I can only tell the people, and I'm not trying to minimize it at all. You do not want to see what we have saw. You just don't. And what has happened is clear. What goes around comes around. They are now trying to tell the American people that the execution that you saw, you did not see. To the point that they're now sending subpoenas and stuff to governors and mayors. And there's nothing, there's no more holes. There ain't no need to call nobody no names. This is the vote of our lives. Because this is the moment that we, the people, in order to form a better government according to the Constitution, must send a message to Washington, D.C., not today and not this way. I mean, there's nothing else. The man is clearly showing you the next move he's trying to make. He literally stood on the world stage and said that he restored the military. I love you, Rev.
All right, love you. Thank you, as always, for your call, Brother Tommy. Let me go to Miss Richardson, my friend in Chevy Chase, Maryland. Miss Richardson.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Al.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my darling, we love you so much, Reb. You know, Reb, I want to get your reaction to Trump. You know, this man that's supposed to be leading the country. Okay, he gave his report card on the Spanish community on Monday night on C-SPAN. He was having, and the people were there with him. And he was saying that, well, of course, he says he's visited the countries with the Spanish, elite there, and he's had talks with them, and he found them to be very fine people. Okay, he said nothing about our people, but let me tell you what he gave a report card on the, the Latino community. He says they're very outstanding people. They're very entrepreneurial minded, very well family-oriented group, and he respects them highly. But he was saying that there are the people that do not have documentation under Biden coming in, and he was kind of making it look like, well, if you don't have your papers, you would be probably labeled to go. But he said some very good things about the Latino community. They're very entrepreneurial-minded, very hard-working people. He says he sees them on the construction sites, this, that, and the other. He went on and on. They are the highest minority entrepreneurship people. He even knew that about businesses and everything like that. But but what he said a month ago, I'm going back a month before a Monday night. He was saying that the people from, where's that place, Reb? Somalia, the Somalia people, or the Haiti
Somalia,
people?
yeah.
Yeah, he said some terrible things. He says he doesn't like them. And the other thing he said, I don't think I should say it, because he was making these people look like they were the scums of the earth. And Somalian people are very educated. My daughter and I know people in Somalia.
Yeah.
There was a very outstanding nurse at the Holy Cross Hospital one time. And I talked with the lady from Somalia. She was a beautiful Somalian. And, that's why I say, what is wrong with this man, Reb? Why does he hate black? I can't get it out of my mind. He has friends. He has a lot of black entertainer people that voted for him. And the one I know that seemed to come across that voted for him was this one that he sees as a friend. This man, whatever his name, supposed to be Snoop Dogg, supposed to be a friend of Donald Trump. And you have other basketball blacks that voted for him. I don't know who they are, but the one that they seem to know, or the name was put out as Snoop Dogg, being a good friend of Donald Trump. And Reb, this filthy music that you hear on FM, that they're saying that's black culture. And Reb, it's not black culture when they're demeaning their women.
No.
Yeah, but that's what they do. And the FCC doesn't have any respect for black people. They're only about making money and getting this stuff, from the people to put that filth on. But if you're not going to hear other cultures demeaning their folks. So, we got to really clean up our own backyard, folks. And like Webb said earlier in the beginning of his introduction of the show, control your dollars, people.
That's right.
Control them. And so that's what I do. That's what all of my family does. That they're not bragging about anything. They're all successful. But Webb, we've got to put it in mind that we've got to think of our own people sometimes. It was blacks that lifted up the Spanish where they are. Dr. King cited these things for advancement for everyone. But look where they are. They're over us by businesses and everything else. I don't want to rave and brag, but I'm saying Google it. And you'll see who got the most trillions coming in. It's the Spanish. Maybe not over the whites. The Anglos or the Jews, but they're certainly over us by about 3 trillion to our 1 trillion or 4 trillion. They're supposed to have almost 4 trillion. Google it up, folks. Google, and you will see and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be getting it, but I'm saying that's where we should be today. We've been in this country hundreds of years, thousands of years under Rome. And this is where we are. And you cited the good things we've done. That's true. But I'm saying where the Spanish people are today, we should be there. But anyway,
I think that, and I thank you for your call. Always got to go to break. Always good to hear from you, Ms. Richardson. I think that rather than Trump play us against the Latinos against us, all of us need to be fighting and pulling up in our own communities and unite with others that do the same in theirs. I think you make an excellent point. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
Reverend Sharpton, how do we begin to make peace with our past?
I don't think it's our obligation to make peace with our past. I think it's our obligation to learn from our past and to understand that soon we gonna be the past. I mean, a lot of us act like we gonna be permanent and that the past is the past. If we draw on the strengths of the past and uphold the dignity and the integrity of our people and then perform it at our highest level, in our generation, as Dr. Moss said, that's our obligation. You know, one of the reasons that I've been so concerned about this cultural tone that we're in now is a lot of us have lost the dignity that our community has shown from Jamestown to now. I've questioned some of the artists that no longer sing to uplift us. And there's never been a generation that didn't use our music and our culture to lift us up. And the excuse is where they say, well, we just want to show what's there. But we never just accepted what was there. We always looked at what was there and looked through it and brought our people the way it needed to be. So in slavery time, we were singing Go Down Moses and Swing Low Sweet Chariot. We wasn't singing about the cotton picking nigga in the field. That's what we saw, but that's not what we sang. In slavery, in segregation
Dr.
time.
Richardson, most of all, let me thank Reverend Al Sharpton for bringing us all here together today. In the Urban Action Network, I am proud to be a candidate for the presidency of the United States of America. But I am mindful that I wouldn't be here if it had not been for Reverend Al Sharpton running for president, and Carol Moseley Brown running for president, and Jesse Jackson running for president, and Shirley Chisholm running for president. They paved the way, and I stand on their shoulders.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
I celebrate the day you were born. You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
For over 3 decades, the National Action Network has stood on the front lines for our communities, fighting for justice, lifting up the voiceless, and showing up where it matters most. Presidents, world leaders, and global changemakers have all testified to Reverend Al Sharpton's impact and National Action Network legacy of good trouble in the fight for equality. This holiday season, our commitment grows even stronger. We're expanding food distributions, toy drives, and direct support for families who need us now more than ever. Stop right now and join the movement. In 1929, a child was born who would one day awaken the conscience of a nation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did not inherit a world ready for justice. He inherited a world resistant to it. Yet through faith and fearless leadership, he transformed struggle into strength and vision into movement.
Yes, we're on the move, and no wave of racism can stop us. Yes, sir. The burning of our churches will not deter us. Yes, sir. The bombing of our homes will not dissuade us. Yes, sir. The beating and killing of our clergymen and young people will not divert us. Yes, sir. The wanton release of their known murderers will not discourage us. We're on the move now. Yes, sir. Like an idea whose time has come. Yes, sir. Not even the marching of mighty armies can halt us. Yes, sir. We're moving to the land of freedom. Yes, sir.
His dream was never meant to live in history books. It was meant to live through us. And today, that vision still lives. It lives through leadership that refuses to be silent, and through those entrusted with carrying the legacy forward through the moral leadership of Reverend Al Sharpton and the continued stewardship of Martin Luther King III, ensuring that Dr. King's dream remains a mandate, not a memory. Through National Action Network, that vision remains active, organizing in the streets, advocating in the halls of power, and confronting injustice wherever it exists. Last year, on Dr. King's Day, we stood together and made a vow to keep alive everything Dr. King stood for, not just in word, but in action. We marched, we gathered, and we recommitted ourselves to the work. Since then, the movement has not paused from the National Action Network convention, where leaders came together to organize and build power, to the Keepers of the Dream Gala, an event established in the name of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to honor those who actively protect, advance, and live out his vision of justice, equality, and service. It is especially meaningful to remember that Mrs. Coretta Scott King was honored at the very first Keepers of the Dream Gala.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
And she did more than honor the dream she protected. At the 2000 March on Washington, Mrs. Coretta Scott King charged Martin Luther King III and Reverend Al Sharpton with the responsibility of carrying forward Dr. King's vision, ensuring that the movement would remain alive, relevant, and unafraid.
And to see them today here warms my heart, because indeed the future of our leadership is in good hands, especially with all the others who are here in support of them. And I want to ask first that Martin Luther King III come forth, and then Reverend Al Sharpton. These young men have done an outstanding job, and we need to continue to support them. I will be there with them, even though I may not be able to walk all the way, but if I have to go in the wheelchair, that'll be all right too. I'll be there. Thank you. God bless you.
And 25 years later, they still stand together. On the 28th of August, 2025, Reverend Al Sharpton and Martin Luther King III stood side by side once again, not by coincidence, but by calling. On a date forever tied to the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., they came together in unity and purpose to keep the dream alive, this time on Wall Street. Wall Street represents power and too often unchecked inequality. So they showed up to declare that economic justice is civil rights and that accountability must exist wherever power lives. Dr. King taught us that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it does not bend on its own. It bends when people are willing to pull it. And we are still pulling, still standing, still holding up the dream, because the work is not finished and the dream still demands defenders. He is a tireless civil rights leader, a fearless voice for justice, and the president and founder of the National Action Network, which proudly marks its 35th anniversary of fighting for justice, equality, and accountability. Please welcome Reverend Al Sharpton.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Mrs. Coretta Scott King, who never has gotten the credit she deserves in being the force behind this movement. Congressman John Conyers, Stevie Wonder.
Real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Tricia is on our message board saying awesome video, excellent narration. Yeah, people ought to look at the website. We can document all the work we've done. Yet, it will not matter if we lose it now. We come too far to let them turn us around now. And we fought people tougher than Trump. So we ought not be intimidated. I said in Philadelphia that I do not understand how we are afraid of somebody we already beat. Don't forget, one of the reasons that Trump is always obsessed with attacking Biden is the only one that ever beat him. He's over there today in Davos, Switzerland, and Biden did this, he's talking to an international audience. None of them were citizens of the United States under Biden. But he's so insecure, he can't get over the fact somebody beat him. Let's go to Raj in Cleveland, Ohio on our phones. Raj, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Thanks for taking my call. How you doing, Rev?
I'm doing good.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, Trump, he was in his first term, he was talking about how he wanted to put tariffs on the on other nations, and he was well informed and well advised that the tariffs would work against the American people, but he didn't care because that's why I think he knows a lot more than he tries to pretend that he knows. Like when it comes to harming the American people, because especially when it comes to either depriving them of resources or taking away resources and rights and stuff like that. And the tariffs is part of another way of taking money out of the economy for him and the billionaires, because they set themselves up at least on with tax, as far as the tax ledger goes, on the other side of the American economy. So the more they take out from the economy, the more they get, in terms of lining their pockets. And he was against NATO his first term as well, and now he's against NATO now. So this is already like in the works and stuff. Back when he was talking about, he was talking against NATO back when he was talking against the post office in his first term,
right?
And trying to line things up, for his own good. And he thought that he was going to get that second term under Biden, and he tried to cheat. He did everything he can, and the courts, 60 court cases told him he lost, as well as his own advisors, they told him you lost, you didn't win. And then he even admitted it. They said in private he admitted that he lost. And then he still played the role. So he's just playing a role. And I always said because his bloodline is links back to Germany, and Germany had two of the three rights, in history. And the first right was Rome, and they had some of their bloodline ran through Germany as well. So he comes from, he's got to know or believe, or somebody told him. I think a lot of what his audacity is that he feels that somewhere down the line, either his bloodline or somewhere close to his bloodline they were ruling over the lesser halves, and he feels that's what he wants to do, and that's why he's lying with Putin and all the other dictators. This is coming from like somebody putting that stuff in his head over the years, and he feels like he's going to go out trying to do this stuff.
Raj, you raised some interesting points. Thank you for your call. I think that one of the things that we need to really come to terms with is that there's a difference between having the ability to govern and having the intelligence and the mindset where you're not guided by emotions, hurt feelings, being ignored, but your mind is getting the task done of governing the largest government apparatus in the world. And when you see him with his pettiness, you know he ain't ready for it. Willie Franklin is saying, good afternoon, Reverend Al Sharpton and Nan from 513 Cincinnati, Ohio. Love Cincinnati. All right. And Mike Met is saying 300 years black people worked for free. Andrew Johnson reneged on the promise of 40 acres and a mule. Even Japan got reparations for their pain and suffering. You're not wrong, Mike. And thank you for your call. Let me go to Still Bill in Cincinnati, Ohio. Still Bill.
This is the day the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. Good afternoon, Reverend, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year back at you.
You are in rare form, and I couldn't agree with you more about the fact that Trump cannot live with the fact that he got defeated in the 2020 election to Joe Biden, which resulted in the riot that he created, and he created it, and he set the prisoners free. I mean, what kind of person is that we want as a president? We don't want somebody that's corrupted, that gets a joy out of just pushing buttons and everything, of, toying with people's lives and everything. And I tell you, I agree with the other caller, too, that said about Dr. King being pleased with your work. Yes, he would very much be pleased with your work, Reverend, just as much as everybody is, including me. And I can't wait for you to get back to Cincinnati, because the next time you're in Cincinnati and I find out, I'm going to do nothing but shower you with praise, because you have done what an average black man would do, especially a politician and, a public figure as you. You're awesome. And I want to send a shout out to Lincoln Ware, WBBZ The Buzz, to let him know that when I hear songs like War by Edwin Starr, One Chain, Don't Make No Prisoner by the Four Tops, Smiling Faces sometimes, I get motivated, and I like to stay in that January mode, where it's Martin Luther King Jr. month, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because he was truly the civil rights leader of the decade. And I'm going to sign out with Dominique Sharpton. You are awesome, and I pledge allegiance. I'm Still Bill, and I promise to keep it real.
All right, Still Bill. I was waiting on you to come with it, and thank you for your call. And I think he raises some valid points that we need to be conscious of. Let's take a break and come back. More of you on the phones. We have 2 more segments. Get your points in. I really, really think we have some good calls today. Let's go. Keeping it real. Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797. Be right back.
King, Dr. Richardson, most of all, let me thank Reverend Al Sharpton for bringing us all here together today. The Urban Action Network. I am proud to be a candidate for the presidency of the United States of America. But I am mindful that I wouldn't be here if it had not been for Reverend Al Sharpton running for president, and Carol Moseley Brown running for president, and Jesse Jackson running for president, and Shirley Chisholm running for president. They paved the way, and I stand on their shoulders.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
I celebrate the day you were born. You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
For over 3 decades, the National Action Network has stood on the front lines for our communities, fighting for justice, lifting up the voiceless, and showing up where it matters most. Presidents, world leaders, and global changemakers have all testified to Reverend Al Sharpton's impact and National Action Network legacy of good trouble in the fight for equality. This holiday season, our commitment grows even stronger. We're expanding food distributions, toy drives, and direct support for families who need us now more than ever. Stop right now and join the movement.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Mrs. Coretta Scott King, who never has gotten the credit she deserves in being the force behind this movement. Congressman John Conyers, Stevie Wonder, and others. And Ronald Reagan, who had called Martin Luther King a communist, ended up being the president that had to sign the bill for Martin Luther King's federal holiday. The reason why we know struggle works is this holiday is a result of struggle, signed by a president that never thought it would be. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. But we gather this morning because everything Dr. King stood for is at risk. As we speak, we're waiting to see what the Supreme Court will do with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, one of the major achievements of the King movement. As we speak this morning, this sitting president has declared war on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is the core of the Civil Rights Act of '64. We are under attack, and we should not be taking this as a day off. This is a day on to fight to keep what was maintained. To see, I remember 6 years ago, Martin III and I were in Minneapolis leading the marches around George Floyd. I did the eulogy at his funeral. 6 years later, we see a white female, unarmed, killed in Minneapolis. We see people being racially profiled. We see that there are those that would want this to be the last federal holiday named after King. Don't you be deceived. This sitting president and his cohorts would want to end Martin Luther King Day. But just like we will not let them end this day, we will not let them end voting rights and Civil Rights Act and DEI. It's not enough to remember and honor the dreamer and let them kill the dream. And that's why National Action Network has every year started in Washington, D.C. with this breakfast, and then we go to New York with our public policy forum. And every year we try to set an agenda and go into April. We always have our national convention in April, which is the month Dr. King was killed, to say that they killed the dreamer, not the dream, and those of us that come out of that movement is going to continue to fight. This April will be our
National Action Network is 35 years old in this April at our convention. One of the things, though, we've been most proud of is to try to keep the assignment that we were given. As I said, Mrs. Coretta Scott King never got the credit she was due. She's the matriarch of this movement. You must know that Dr. King was in Boston, had graduated Morehouse College, 19 years old. Went to Boston University, an Ivy League school at a time many blacks couldn't get in them. Met a young lady who was in conservatory, was going to be an opera singer from Marion, Alabama, Coretta Scott King. They decided to go back south. A lot of blacks that went north and had their upper movement never wanted to go back south. But for whatever reason, Dr. King wanted to go back south. And Mrs. King stood right with him and went to Alabama and ran into history. It is always those that accept the calling that change history. And we should never forget the sacrifice made of Dr. Martin and Mrs. Coretta Scott King, because they did not have to go and lead a boycott. They were Boston University Conservatory graduates. They chose to fight. And when it fell their lot, they kept fighting. And even after Dr. King was assassinated, she kept the movement going. Martin III bonded me and his mother, and she used to reprimand me. Al, you got to be careful with your language. Al, I know you up north, but do this, that, and other. She got on me about being not only in the tradition in your actions, because we always was there, but even in your rhetoric. And it was because of that that it meant so much. For the last 30 years, Martin and I have walked step by step together because we had that bond, and I felt that Mrs. King gave us that. He has kept this dream alive all over the world. He has worked with the offsprings of Mahatma Gandhi to keep this tradition going. But I thought I knew a lot about how God operates because I've been preaching since I was a little boy. So I thought I'd never see another person in the spirit of Coretta Scott King. But Andrea Waters King walks.
You're live, sir.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Or you can go on our message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net and go to our live stream, and we will try to read as many of you as we can from our message board. I see Tanya Stovall saying, thank God for that. Can't wait for the nightmare of the Trump administration to be over. And I agree with you, Tanya, but it's not going to be over without us working for it. It was our lack of work and lack of diligence and not enough of us that put us back here in the first place. So we got to double down and do more. And because they intend, clearly there's some with Trump that clearly intend to try to change the Constitution so he can serve a third term. From the way he's acting, I don't know how he's going to finish the second in his right mind. But being that they'll prop him up, because this is not about Trump. He thinks it is. This is about people that believe in changing the Constitution of the United States, changing the legislative advancements that we've made over the last 60 years. Trump is the instrument. They know better than we do how off he is. But he is a charismatic figure, had a brand name from his television show, so he could get through where they had nobody else to do it. And when he proved he could do it in 16, they've stayed with him. But don't ever think that these people that are around Trump don't know how ridiculous he is. Now, some of them are spaced out themselves, but others of them, particularly that big billionaire crowd, they know he's off, but he's on for them. Because people that engage in politics at its highest level are about their interest, not about their emotions. And we must be just as methodical about our interest, not our emotions. We go on emotions. Well, I don't like this one. Oh, I don't like the way they part their hair. Or I don't think they should wear them shoes. Or I don't remember them coming to my chicken fry. I mean, we must get ourselves to a point of serving our interests. And they know how to serve theirs. And they do all kind of funny games. Provoke you. Call your names. You're supposed to react. And I think that we've got to show we're smarter than that. On the message board, Wanda Mills says, thank you, Reverend Al Sharpton, for your outstanding dedication and leadership. I appreciate you for saying that. Thank you for your call. Mayor Rodney Jones, the mayor from Queensbridge Houses, saying Miller and Bannon are the puppet masters, talking about Stephen Miller and Steve Bannon, and on the words I was talking about. Trump is Elvis. He ain't Colonel Parker. For you that are older know what that means. He's not running the show, in my opinion. He's the star they put out on the stage. And Elvis is getting old and getting his mind not right. Because some of the, I watched some of the speech this morning, and I'm really telling you, he was rambling. He was all over the place. He wasn't making any sense. And he's got a real thing about these windmills. He's obsessed with, it's like somebody going back into their second childhood. He just went off into the windmills. And I'm like, what is he talking about? And you notice they don't have windmills in China. They sell them everywhere else. And this is supposed to be a coherent man with cognitive skills running the most powerful nation in the world. And you're not concerned about that? A man that just decides, I want Greenland. I want it. I don't care what y'all say. And has the power to use the military to do strange things. You don't believe it? Look what he did in Venezuela. Maduro is far from being a good guy, but it is against all international law to go across the borders of a sovereign state and grab their head of state and put them in your jail. And you don't even have a plan on who's going to run that country and how. Interesting how things are happening right in front of our eyes and we can't see it. You notice how quiet they've gotten about Maduro? Now, when you look at the fact that Trump had about 2 weeks before he sent them down to grab Maduro, he had pardoned Hernandez, who was the former head of state of Honduras, who was in jail, not maybe go to jail, was in jail in the United States, convicted of drug trafficking to the U.S. as the head of state in Honduras, was sentenced by a federal judge in this country to 45 years in jail. Trump pardoned him. Why aren't we making him explain how he pardons one drug trafficking head of state snatches up another one. And why are we not pressing him on how come you told the heads of oil companies you were going to grab Maduro in a few hours? Said it that day to them and didn't tell the Congress. We're allowing him with too much to normalize insanity. And I think that that is what is so egregious. Bruce Turner is saying the GOP hasn't said a word against Trump. Quiet about Epstein too. And I'm glad you brought that back up, Bruce. I brought it up earlier. I don't understand how, two things I don't understand. I looked at the fact they were shooting down blacks and putting a knee on our neck, chokehold, and all of that. And I and others protested and in some senses brought some level of justice. Because we saw in, whether it be Trayvon Martin or whether it be George Floyd or whether it be Breonna Taylor, we saw us. These were people look like us. Could be our children. Could be our brother. Could be us, depending on your age. So I always thought if this happened to whites, they would react like we did because they'd see their daughter, their son. But here they've shot and killed a young white woman in Minneapolis who just dropped a 6-year-old kid off to school. And here we see them doing whatever they wanted to do around the Epstein case when you're talking about young white underage girls. And the Republicans are not questioning Trump on that. Now, a lot of people out there now protesting, marching, standing up, because they can see themselves in that. This stuff is personal. People ask me all the time, Reverend Al, what got you involved? I said, well, I, come up in the church and I felt it was my calling when I was 12. But what kept me involved is I said what they're doing, by the grace of God, would be me in that casket. And I'd want somebody to stand up for me or my daughters or now my grandson. So I'm not fighting just for others. I'm fighting for me so that I will not have to hope somebody stand up for me or mine. And I was negligent of standing up for others. That's why I don't care if they can come out with any lie they want. I'm controversial, all that. They can run whatever you want to run, make yourself feel better. I'm not stopping. I'm not going back. Going to somebody else, wasting your time, thinking you're going to discourage me. Let's take a break. We're coming right back, going to the phones, and more of you on the message pad, on our message board, I should say. Evangelist Ramsey's up there saying, speak truth to power. Rodney Jones, the mayor, say, yes, Epstein, Gaza, Venezuela, out of sight, out of mind. That's what they're trying to do. And Saint 6744, God help us to make the right choices in this world. We're dealing with people that are not stable, how to run this country. My Lord Jesus, help us, Lord Jesus. You got to pray, because they definitely some wicked in high places. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Keeping it real. I thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures. But if I misused them and listened to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear.
clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke.
No justice! No justice! No justice! What do we want? What do we want?
We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand up and make it loud. Just like our God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's calling us into freedom. Let my people go, go. We never shine, never shade. Give me a papa go rain, make the heavens. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. The blood, sweat, and the tears that we gathered through the years. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water.
This is the first Thanksgiving I'm here in New York. Over 20 years. I'm just glad to be here with Rev today and to hand out the food. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
It's Erica Ford, the Peace Doctor in the building. Here at the National Action Network, it's about thanks, it's about giving, it's about gratitude, it's about love. I feel it is important for you to understand that there's work out here to be done, but it starts with gratitude, it starts with giving, it starts with peace, it starts with love. Let's go.
Before we feed our family, we got to make sure that we feed the community. That's right. That's what it's all about. We have to come with Sharpton phones. You come and you make sure you show up, serve the community. That's what it's all about.
All over the world today, people are gathered in love vigils to celebrate the life of a man that taught the world how to love. People may be wondering why there's such an emotional outburst, but you would have to understand the journey of Michael to understand what he meant to all of us. For these that sit here as the Jackson family, a mother and father with 9 children that rose from a working class family in Gary, Indiana. They had nothing but a dream. No one believed in those days that these kind of dreams could come true. But they kept on believing, and Michael never let the world turn him around from his dreams. I first met Michael around 1970, Black Expo, Chicago, Illinois, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who stood by this family till now. And from that day as a cute kid to this moment, he never gave up dreaming. It was that dream that changed culture all over the world. When Michael started, it was a different world. But because Michael kept going, because he didn't accept limitations, because he refused to let people decide his boundaries, he opened up the whole world. In the music world, he put on one glove,
pulled his pants up and broke down the color curtain, where now our videos are shown and magazines put us on the cover. It was Michael Jackson that brought blacks and whites and Asians and Latinos together. It was Michael Jackson that made us sing "We Are the World" and feed the hungry long before Live Aid. Because Michael Jackson kept going, he created a comfort level where people that felt they were separate became interconnected with his music. And it was that comfort level that kids from Japan and Ghana and France and Iowa and Pennsylvania got comfortable enough with each other to later it wasn't strange to us to watch Oprah on television. It wasn't strange to watch Tiger Woods golf. Those young kids grew up from being teenage, comfortable fans of Michael to being 40 years old and being comfortable to vote for a person of color to be the president of the United States of America. Michael did that. Michael made us love each other. Michael taught us to stand with each other. There are those that like to dig around mess, but millions around the world want to uphold his message.
Keep it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Twitter.com, The Rev Al. Or you can go to the message board and put a message at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And let me tell you, while I'm on that, I just checked. Many people, several, I could say almost 2,000 have already signed in for National Action Network's convention. And I'm saying that because we, in order to be fair, go by people signing in and the date they sign in. So when we get down to end of March, beginning of April, because it starts April 8th, we have to go by who was diligent. So if we've got a ballroom for 500 and 510 come, well, if there's 10 on the list that signed in January, they get their seats, and 10 folk got to step out because they just didn't pre-register. So please, this you know, with the midterms, I'm gonna have everybody there that you need to get the information from voting to the congressional races to people that want to run for president. You know, I'm going to have the scholars there. I'm going to have the victims and talk about their cases and who did legislation around their cases. I'm going to have the black church panels and where the church needs to wake up, the sororities. Our businesses, our business folks, have them all there. 4 days, all the sessions free. All you got to do is register now and get here. I'm not charging nothing. I don't know a national convention of our size that you can get every session free. And I don't know a national convention that afterward you can know that we're doing everything we committed, because I'm on the radio every day, television every weekend, and on other shows during the week. So I ain't going nowhere. That's why, you know, people, every once in a while you get some stupidity. Oh, Mal did so-and-so. Well, they ain't not looking for me because everybody know where I am every day. So stop the foolishness and go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and say, Mal, I can't be there the whole 4 days. I'll be there these 2 days, these 3 days, or just 1 day, but put me down. Right now, www.nationalactionnetwork.net,
Or if you cannot get to your iPad or email, call and we'll register you on the phone, 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651. Now, don't forget Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday and Sunday. And we're going to have some very important guests that can deal with not only what Trump wants us to talk about, but what he doesn't want us to talk about. We're going to deal with tariffs. We're going to deal with what he's dealing with in terms of Greenland. We're going to deal with this whole atrocity in Minneapolis and what he's doing with ICE all over the country. But we're also going back to them Epstein files. It's over a month since they were told by Congress to release all the files. Why haven't they been released? I'm going to ask members of Congress, members of the Senate. We also are seeing they are getting close again, Affordable Care Act. They claim they got an alternative plan. They've not put it forward. We are 21 days since they expired. As I speak, people are having their premiums tripled, quadrupled. I'll ask about that. So watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5, MS Now, formerly known as MSNBC, MS Now, Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Then, you that are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, meet me at the Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue, 145th and Lenox. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Saturday's Action Rally. And make sure you're there. We're going to be moving to different larger facilities soon, but this Saturday and next we will be 145th and Lenox. You that are not in New York and watch us, and several thousand watch us on YouTube live. You watch us on nationalactionnetwork.net live. Watch us on Impact TV live. You can watch it live and be a part of what we have going on. All right. Let me go back to the phone. Let me go to Mrs. Jones in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Word.
And thanks, Rep, for taking my call. I do appreciate it. I want to say you have the best producer ever, and we love you dearly, and we're praying much for you.
Thank you.
And I agree. You're quite welcome. And I agree with everything you said previous to taking my call. And we're grateful that we have you 7 days a week. And I would encourage everyone to go to NAN, if you're able to view the rally on TV, which we do, my husband and I. You will not regret spending your time. Sure, we all are busy, but Rev is on fire. And we have to catch that fire, and we must do it quickly. I am filled up, Rev, but I'm going to cut it short because I know that there are a lot of people want to get in. And also, I mentioned impeachment at the beginning when I spoke with your producer. I have 3 words for what has gone on in our country since January the 20th. Impeachment, impeachment, impeachment.
Yeah.
And most importantly, that we must call the Republicans to stand up as well as the Democrats. I've called several times this week already, most recently today, because we have to, if you can't go to certain, be in a march or what have you, we must do something. And the number is 202-456-1111. And your daughter also asked us, Dominique, if Martin Luther King was here today, what would he tell us?
Yeah.
He would say, do not allow this twice impeached, 4 times indicted, sexual abuser, as well as all the other charges, turn you around. We come too far. And I say, all of us who are concerned about Reb, he's going to be okay. He tore up the, Psalms 23, I will never be the same, after hearing how he went into every verse. And Reb is going to be okay. And we are going to be okay. All those on the front line are going to be okay. And Martin would say, we got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now. I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I want to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he has allowed me to go to the mountain. And I looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. I'm so happy tonight. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. I have more to say, but I'm going to cut it.
I love it, and you said that with a great spirit and anointing. Thank you for your call, Miss Jones. I'm going to have to go on that one, but I couldn't have closed with a better caller. Let me thank all of you that called in, all of you that listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyway. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.